This is Channel 9. So who are you?
Hi, I'm Ramkumar. I'm an application developer working for Microsoft IT. I basically develop applications for non-corporate affairs development of Microsoft.
Okay.
I basically develop applications on .NET, and I'm versed with SQL Server 2005 and 2000. I also built applications using Infopath, SharePoint, and to the level I use MSDN. Now I'm going to talk about Infopath.
Okay.
Infopath 2003, which is a new application that we released along with Microsoft Office Assembly in 2003. Infopath 2003 is basically a form. This actually helps us to gather information effectively, flexible, using a dynamic, rich forms. Since the creation of these forms are very easy, even the business users can create their own forms and collect the information and share it across different business. Since Infopath integrates with web services and SharePoint, they can publish their information into the SharePoint since the business users are well versed with SharePoint in a way. As I earlier said, Infopath is very easy to create. There are three options to create Infopath. You can create Infopath forms based on a schema, or you can create Infopath forms based on XML, well-formed XML which you have, or just by opening a form editor and creating a new form without knowing anything about XML schema. So the normal business users will actually go and use Infopath without knowing anything. Infopath allows us to accept or retrieve information from web service, from a SQL Server database, from an XML document, or from a SharePoint document library. Similarly, Infopath also enables us to submit or send information to the web services or to SharePoint document library or to anybody's email. This is one of the widest features which is used across, and that's the reason why Infopath is very successful within the business users when compared to developers. From the developer side, you can create Infopath forms. You can create Infopath forms in Infopath form editor, and similar to Microsoft front page, where you can just drag and drop your text box. You'll also have a variety of controls in Infopath. They are called data fields. They don't basically alter the Infopath XML structure. What it will do is it will just create a text box or list box, whatever you want, and map it to this particular XML field on the back and behind the screen. There are some controls called structural controls where, for example, there's like tables. Tables will actually alter your XML structure. You can add or remove the tables. For example, if you want to add a list of student names in a form, by default you will just give a single row table. But I can go ahead and add multiple rows to add commit all names to the student list. In addition to this, there are something called miscellaneous controls, which is like giving a link, hyperlink to some other web page, sending a mail in the forms. Some of the key features of Infopath form. Infopath form is, as I told, you can actually submit a document to a SharePoint document library. So the business users will basically open the form which is already published in a SharePoint document library and fills out the necessary information and just submit it to the SharePoint library or send a mail. So they will send a mail and the person at the receiving end will receive the form as an email attachment. He just needs to open the form again, and the form will open in Infopath, and he needs to fill in the information. Whatever he asked for, he can just send it back to the same person or to the different person. In my application, where I work, it's basically a workflow application. And we use Infopath extensively as a data collection form. Our business users create their own Infopath form. They don't interact with it. They just create the Infopath form and then interact with our workflow engine.
So this
consider like you are creating business users create a form, but basically how you validate the data then by just out of box. So how you validate the business user form?
Well, yeah. As I said, we don't need to write any JavaScript or any specific code to validate the form. Infopath itself has a wizard type of data validation schemes. Infopath by definition, since I said it will actually work based on a schema, it validates the data immediately. You can also add your own validation by just setting up rules for every control. You don't write any code for that. You can just go to the particular control and just it has a property and just add your rules and validate what sort of data user can enter, what sort of data user cannot enter, and all those things. And this way you can validate it. If the visual users are well, or if you want to write anything extra, you can just go ahead and add scripts to it. You can add as a JavaScript, you can add as a C# code, it's a code behind, and it will execute it. Okay, so you don't basically you have all these three options to validate your data with the users.
I just question the C# code block which you were talking about. Is it like when you install Visual Studio.NET, it will come with the Infopath development kit, or do you need to do anything extra?
You need to basically install the Infopath CK kit, which contains a separate project called Infopath. So you just need to add a form to the project, and you just need to write a code as you create the normal code. And the Infopath by itself, when you submit it, you have to tell the Infopath that instead just call me this block of code which I wrote it in this page. So Infopath will execute it and get it. I'm sure I'll have some demo for it, but if I don't have, I'll get it later.
So we talked about the dynamic forms and rich data forms. So how it's different from the normal traditional web pages which using ASP or ASP.NET, you create a dynamic form, and how Infopath, is there any like you can correlate and do some kind of key features, how Infopath differentiates from ASP.NET?
Sure. Since as a Infopath, the data of Infopath is basically XML documents. You have a single XML document. You can render XML documents in n multiple ways. You can actually create a new view in Infopath form. So you can actually, the view is nothing but an XML, by which you can actually render XML. So when you render the XML, you will actually get an HTML page. So this is one of the best ways. I would say Infopath is one of the best ways to create SSL files. If you have an XML and if you want to render it to an HTML page and you don't know how to create an XSL, just the one stop is open Infopath, just add the XML to it, and just design your page how you want. If you use an XSL, and just use the XSL in the web page. So you have multiple views, and these views are created by the business users. They can just go and change it at any time. You don't have to write any HTML code. It is going to create its own XSL internally. You're just going to drag and drop whatever fields you want, how do you want to look. In a way, Infopath is like what you see is what you get. When you design the form, what will you see, what will you design in the form, that's what the customer is going to see. That's one advantage in Infopath I think. And I think Infopath also allows us to do an offline editing, whereas webform does not allow us. But what does it mean is, suppose I got request to fill up something, or I needed to fill up some information. I have, like today I have like partial information. I'm sure I'll get the information tomorrow. So what I do is I'll just enter partial information. I'll save that form in my local hard disk. Tomorrow I'll come back and fill up all the information, then I just send it back. You cannot do it in the web form. Since it's a website, so you have to fill it full, you cannot do anything, you have to come back and fill it everything. And Infopath also supports automatic saving. Suppose you have very huge form which has like 200 fields, and you are at the end of like 15 fields. So you can set the Infopath to basically save at particular level. So like for example, save it for every 3 minutes. So it actually save the information you entered in your local machine. So even when power goes, when you open the form again, you will have the old information. So you can just update it back to the server.
So basically coming back to Infopath, we have a notion of Infopath, and from office system, Infopath is evolving as a lightweight user interface to collect data from customers without very less interaction from the development team or any project engineering team. So what do you think about it? It's like it's going to be benefit for a business, or it's going to be benefit for a customer for a rapid change in the business?
Right.
Like
The answer lies in your last part of the question. Since the customer wants to change the interface whenever they want to add anything, so whenever they want to change it, the way they want to look at it, they can just go ahead and change it. They can just change it immediately. You don't need to have a developer or a highly technical person to change it. As I said, what you see, what you get. If you just go and change the design, you will get the final output. So I see a lot of value add to the business where they can modify the forms and just republish it, and the customer will get the updated form. You basically don't need to come to the development cycle at all.
So when I compare the web pages and Infopath again, just having web pages have the restrictions to access the local file system. And how about in Infopath? Infopath is kind of, I can go and do my local stuff like reading, writing, all those things, but still Infopath has its own, because it's published in a web, that is like it's, I can publish in SharePoint, users can access it. So if we allow to do that, I think they can just manipulate it.
It is the same as web page. Even when the Infopath form transferred over to the client's page, it still has restrictions about the client machine, accessing the client machine. You cannot go and access registry from Infopath. You will have a proper permission registered at the client machine. All the security goes as like it's coming out of the registry, so it's same. There are some kind of security mechanisms I want to tell you. You can actually sign the Infopath form using digital signatures, and you can restrict only people who can open it, only people who can edit it. So this way you can at least control the form being accessed or being edited by everyone. And I'll just give you some of the tips which I came across while I was developing forms earlier. Never have a validation on the date picker control itself. The reason is you always have a validation when you do a submit. The reason is, for example, if you have a validation on a date picker control, say that your date should never exceed on 10/10/2004 or 2005, and the customer opens the form after the 10/10. So you cannot submit the form because the date is already passed. So you need to change the date. If you actually validate it when the user submits it, at the time of submission that validation is very valid. But once it's submitted, then that particular validation is not required. So if you write any rules on the console, then that's basically going to execute it every time when you open the form. So better write the validation which you want at the page level, at the form submit or the rules level. And second thing is, this is a bit strange. Infopath does not allow you to enter A space blank space B blank space C in a single line text box. When you just enter these A double space B double space C and when you just tab out of the particular text box console, you will see the data A blank space B blank space. It will actually trim out multiple blank space and put one blank space. The reason Infopath normalize your spaces for the storage. If you really want this feature, you have to go and make your text box to accept paragraph break, which is multi-line text box.
So can we, as is like it's a form, I can collect data. So is there any restriction like the volume of data I can upload through Infopath to a particular server as well as like web services or a SharePoint? So like I'm just attaching like 10 MB file or 20 MB files to Infopath, like I'm attaching to my web page. So is there any restrictions or Infopath? Are there best practices or tips you have?
Well, basically there are no restrictions on the Infopath side. There is a control called file. There is a control called file attachment. So using that control, you can attach files from your local system and submit it to the web service or SharePoint or through the email. There is no restriction about what is type of file, but there are some restriction on type of files you being uploaded. Because Infopath will actually take the file and it's actually convert the file to a string in base64 format and embed in the XML file. You cannot actually upload a CHM file or a command file or a DLL, which are normal, because a malicious user can enter an exe or upload an exe file and do a burst. So there are restrictions only for type of files and not for file size. All the file size basically depends on, suppose if you are sending an email, you cannot basically attach like 200 MB documents. You will have to this file at the receiving end. So it's better to have a lesser size attachment. If you want to have it, you can basically put it in a file share and attach, put the paths in this so that anybody can access it. It's just an add-on, but there is no best practice even to say that we don't have. And that's all I have with me about Infopath. I am sure I'll be back and give you some demo later.
That's great. So that was really nice knowing about Infopath and you sharing some really interesting tips.
Sure.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And hope to get back to you with some more
Sure.
demos or something, you know.
Sure.
Thank you. Hi guys, so what is this game you're playing?
Carrom. Well-known play.
Carrom.
Yeah.
So can you tell me more about this game?
So we're just relaxing now from a big leave.
Okay.
And before that, I just like to introduce myself. I'm Suresh,
Hi Suresh.
and I work as application developer in Microsoft IT.
Okay.
And I just would like to introduce one of my peer come my game mates.
Hey, I'm Ram.
Hi Ram, we know you.
Yeah, I am also an application developer, works for Microsoft IT. And now I'm playing a very famous indoor game. We have it in our office, so it's very cool to play with in office itself.
That's great. So how do you guys play this?
Sorry?
How do you guys play this game? Tell me more.
Okay, carrom is basically it's a 2 to 4 player game. And you basically have, like similar to chess, you have like white and black coins. And we have a common red coin. You basically need to, one team will take the white, one team will take the black. And you basically have to get the opponent team not to put the coins, but you put all your coins and win the game.
Okay. So whose move is it now?
I'm done. I have already got my
You
coin.
got a straight rocket, so it's like it.
White.
Good. Let's talk about, I want to share something about MS Build. It's basically, what's MS Build? It's basically MS Build is a build engine that is come along with VB timeframe in .NET 2.0. What does MS Build does? It basically builds your Visual Studio project and other projects, and it also helps you to deploy it in various servers. And we are basically working on MS Build for the past 2-3 months, and we are really enjoying working with MS Build. It's basically we are actually getting more smiles from our testers. The reason I'm saying is developers will just develop the code. Develop and the testers will just test it. But we are also spending some time to build my application currently by manual, like just opening all the projects, building it, and sending it to testers, and testers will install it in their test servers manually. We don't have any automation. We actually heard about MS Build, which basically helps us to build my task, build my application, and also helps testers to deploy the application with just a single click. You basically don't need to worry about spending like 7 to 8 hours to build and deploy to any server. We spent like 2 to 3 days to build the script, and finally we just end up spending only 30 to 40 minutes to just build and deploy it in various servers which we have.
So, like as I said, I'm getting smiles because every time I walk into space, I just look at my carrom and I say that when I'm going to play it, right? So, I got the answer when MS Build was released, and I was happy saying that MS Build is a way to make me happy when playing this carrom. You might ask me, what is the funny guy you were talking about? What does the MS Build and carrom do with it? It's not like that. Every day in typical, it's like we have a release tomorrow. So basically we work by sticks. We have to deliver a end code complete to the test. So the test will start testing the application. So if it's a small app, just fine. But if it just involves more than a server, like 2-3 servers, it's just trying to deploy all applications in different servers and looking at the configuration, and you will face a lot of environmental issues in the end of the day. So you might use it like from 8 to 2-3 hours more. So what MS Build do to this? So as you said, like MS Build is an engine which comes in 2.0 .NET 2.0 framework, where it's just a lightweight engine which does a lot of automated stuff. But not everything is out of box. You have to build whatever you want. You create your own libraries to do the deployment. Let's say like I want to copy a file, you just create a library which do a copy file. Then finally it's a declarative statement in XML saying that you specify copy and specify what is the source and what is the destination. And everything will be done by the build engine. So what I'm going to build engine is, we're just giving an XML data. It's an XML file. You just define your XML file, what kind of servers involved in this, which application should deploy in which server, and which file should be copied to some kind of file share, and you want to build a database, just give it scripts, and the build engine has a capability to deploy your SQL scripts in the database. Anywhere, if it's not the local server, you can run from any machine and to any remote server. So I can deploy an app to any remote server without logging into the particular machine or external servers or remote desktop servers. So what I will do is just, we spend like, as we both spend like 3-4 days to build the scripts based on our project requirement and the deployment requirement. Once it is done, and we have to create with a script for a development environment, we can create a script for a test environment, and we can create for production environment. So basically this goes as a parameter. So nothing to it like I have to create multiple scripts, it's just a single script, and maybe the server names will vary for different environments. So I will just change environment in my XML file. So I will just give the command prompt some kind of parameter saying that this build is a dev build, this is a test build, this is a production build. That's it. And I just run a single command from it, just click enter, boom, it's done. Within 30 minutes you will get a mail saying that, hey, the build is success, and it sends the mail to all the respective people who is involved in this testing, or somebody who is really interested and knows whether a particular date or milestones are met, whether this release is up now or is there is any delay. So my managers also will be very keen in getting some mail saying that, okay, whether we are on date or we are some skipping or some lack of keeping the date or something to be taken care of. So that's why you see, I am just done, everything is success, now I am playing my carrom.
That's
so happy, and my testers also so happy because they don't want to stay late.
So MS Build is a big part of the SDLC basically.
It's a big part. Actually, you have to. Every application once you develop, it has to go to a deployment, a rollout, or a production, or a testing. Or for dev also, we have to do some kind of pre-testing before it goes to testing. So we need to set up all the environments. But I had a raw code, but I don't have the environment. What I will do? I don't want to spend 3 days setting up this environment every future complete. So I will just create my own setup at beginning based on my requirement. Finally, I just shoot a single command which will do all my job. And I just next day morning I come and just happily test the application and log the bug and fix the bug.
So does the RTM product also ship this way?
Yes.
Okay.
So currently 2.0 framework available for HTTP releases, and Beta 2 also available. So the MS Build is shipping as of now. So the enhancement is going to be happen, but currently it supports like almost 50 tasks, inbuilt tasks like deploying SQL, copying file shares, deleting files, deploying web services, deploying websites in a remote server, and creating MSIs, creating cap files, and you can do a lot of stuff which you are doing in manual using multiple tools.
Okay.
So you might use Visual Studio installer to create MSI. You might be using some third-party tools to create MSI. You might be using some manual, say some instruction, open XML file, go to this node, and change this value to ABCD server to XYZ server. I don't want to worry about anything. I'm going to do everything in XML, and it takes care of modifying that particular value to a particular server based on my parameter. If it is a production, it says production server 1. If it says test, it says test server 1. So that everything is automated now. I don't need to worry about it. And apart from that, I'm getting email. I can get email and I can get log files which is attached to the email, so that I will get a complete view of what's happening in the MS Build engine. So it gives like, okay, it's completing web service deployment, it's completing database deployment. So it gives step-by-step process. Anything goes wrong, you will get a clear picture where it went wrong and what is your next step to proceed. So it gives a complete end-to-end. I hope like it's extensible kit, and that's a key area where Microsoft is focusing on, saying that it's a .NET-based engine. So it supports all the .NET C# code. You can write that libraries to support your extensibilities. So you can write .NET, VB.NET, you can write C#, any .NET supported language. So you can extend the MS Build engine up to what you want. So currently it supports some limited 50 cells, but you can extend to 100, 200 based on your requirements. Your organization might having a different way of deploying applications, like more than 100, 200, something like that. It supports extensibility. That's the best part in MS Build.
That's great.
To add to it, Visual for 2005, the project file for 2005 is basically an MS Build project. Visual for 2005 is using MS Build to compile its code. As we said, MS Build helps us in lot many ways, right from building and deploying. I just go ahead and get a deeper about how MS Build does all those things. MS Build is basically an XML file where it has root node, say the project, say what type of project it is. And MS Build, you have a set of properties defined to basically the properties. These properties are nothing but variables which you will be using while doing building or deployment. Similar to the properties, you have something called items. Items are nothing but a collection of values, a collection of files kind of thing. You also have something called targets, which basically is a group of small tasks. These targets are the one which basically that's the main task. There is something called tasks, which basically, for example, the task is compile my C# project, compile or copy my binary file from one location to another location. You can also have there's something called warnings. You can provide a warning message. Suppose you are trying to copy a file, but the file will take, so you can give a warning message that the file will take, and I'm going to overwrite it. And you can also get user input from that whether you want to continue or not. As I said, MS Build, you can deploy, and whenever there is an error, you can take care of the reaction. MS Build by definition does not roll back any of the operations. We have write up our own script to roll back our operations. In a way, as I said, we are really in a very good mood to make our application building and deployment very successful by just reducing it to 20-30 minutes. Earlier, my build and deployment documentation runs to 70 pages, and now it just runs to 1 page.
Wow.
Because all it said in my configuration basically, which we wrote in 2 days or 3 days in the XML. So it does all our tasks. And you can actually, currently, we are expecting to add more tasks in the time frame, which is released in November. But it doesn't stop you from writing your own tasks and then use the tasks in the MS Build.
And I want to share my very good experience where I was previously working with before MS Build has been released. I was just keen in saying that why can't we automate our build process? Why can't we automate building our application, deploying server? So I was just very happy using Visual Source Tape as my source control and just write some BP script.o cool stuff behind it, saying, connecting, get files, get latest files from source tape, and just put together in a file server, and call from different tools using command prompt and there's a lot of upgrade my head and my carrom, everything. So whatever I did, finally I get, but I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied with it. Most what I did. A lot of stuff, but it made me very good. Feel happy about what I did. So currently what MS Build is just everything. So it gives it has an inbuilt capability of getting sources, files from sources, various source controls. If you have a third-party source control, don't worry. Use your extensible kit, implement the function there, and connect with your source control, get the latest file. There's nothing on it. That's why it's extensible. You can do with anything. So you don't have to worry about whether MS Build can work with third party, some different source controls, different databases. Don't worry about anything. It's all extensible. Just implement the interface and just write your own custom code there. You are done. You are completed. So when I compare what is missing in the previous PS managed build, which is build.net, we can build the application there. But only thing is you cannot customize, you cannot extend, and you need .net installed on that particular machine. So it's kind of managing the particular fixed IDE or whatever the tools to just build the application. It's going to be really a big thing. So if you think about MS Build is very smart, thin, and it's extensible, built on .NET framework, and you don't need to be installed Visual Studio.NET on your build machine. It just needs 2.0 framework installed. Just like maybe maximum 50 MB of file you need to download and install 2.0 framework. That's it. And it's just a command prompt. And if you are a very cool guy of creating some cool custom UI, just create a .NET 2.0 WinForm with a lot of graphics around it and say that, hey, just select what is the parameter for this build and say that what is my inputs to the build, if you know the XML build, and just click build it. That's it. And you can show it to my manager and say, wow, I created a UI, and you don't need to go to the command prompt. I'm giving a good user request to you. I think I'm going to suggest it to the team, say that, hey, you can take my user interface and build it. So
that's it.
I love it.
But so you know that Ram here has stolen 5 of your moves.
Yeah.
So you should be playing 5 more times.
Yeah.
While you've been chatting with me, he's been stealing your moves, so he's actually had 5 extra moves.
Yeah, that's, I think he took advantage of my MS Build passion. I think that's why we work each other. You take advantage of what you have and just work, share the knowledge and just just don't wait for anything. Just use the time and just complete the work. So he does this. I think you take it time.
I just want to tell you one thing. Developers, just go now and try and convert all your documentation running from more than one page to n page to one page by just building your MS Build script. It's going to make smiles for your testers. It's going to reduce your stress when you deliver a product and install it in n number of servers. Here it's just like single, just like you type and enter and going to install it in n number of servers. And second thing is the point, what I want to say is, earlier my tester used to ask me, Sam, when is the drop? Give it in the morning so we can install it before we go for the day and come back in the morning for testing. But nowadays, after I give an MS Build, they never ask, and I got to make in this great, excellent, fast.
That's fantastic. So thanks guys for sharing information about MS Build. Thanks. You can carry on your game.
Sure, yeah, I have to because I know already by 6 times.
6 times.